welcome to 1400th year memorial for Prince Shotoku, or Shotoku Taishi, the father of Japanese Buddhism, as well as respected by Shintos. We want to share his spirit of great peace to you all. His contribution is innumerable for Japan, and it may apply to present world. His teachings and practices are so universal because of profound understanding of human nature and the universal Dharma principle. You will find out what this means through today's session. I'm Reverend Dr. Tk Nakagaki, and I'm organizing this session with Professor James Lynch. Hello, James. He's current president of the Buddhist Council, New York, and the vice president of Heiwa Peace and Reconciliation Foundation of New York. He practices Risshoku Seikai Buddhism, whose teachings is deeply connected to the Lotus Sutra or Pundarika Sutra, one of the first three sutras on which Shotoku Taishi gave detailed discourses. Hey, James.
Yes, and I thank you so much, Venerable Nakagaki. I would like to take this moment to introduce Dr. Tk Nakagaki. He is a founder and president of the Heiwa Peace and Reconciliation Foundation of New York. He's also the past president and president emeritus of the Buddhist Council of New York. His tradition is Jodo Shinshu, Japanese Pure Land Buddhist tradition, whose founder considered Shotoku Taishi as an incarnation of Avalokitesvara, Bodhisattva. And so I'm very grateful to be here with him on this presentation concerning Prince Shotoku and his wonderful contribution to the world.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. But so the Prince Shotoku, he was born 574 and then passed away 622. And so the Prince of Holy Virtue that's the kind of translation of the Shotoku, was a Japanese regent, statesman, and scholar. He's the most respected historical figure in Japan as the founding father of Japan, the country of Japan, and who established the foundation of Japan. So he created, as we discussed, the first Japanese constitution called 17条憲法, 17-article constitution based upon Buddhist principle in 604, and also created like a 12 ranking system based upon both their nobility and then ability in 603. We'll have an opening puja, opening prayers. So please join me in silent meditation. And this will be followed by three treasures. Namo Kie Butsu, Namo Kie Ho, Namo Kie So.
I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dhamma. I take refuge in the Sangha.
Now I'm reading Article 1 and Article 2 from the Prince Shotoku's 17 article constitutions. 一に曰く和をもってたっとしとなし逆らうことなきを胸となせ。
Harmony, peace should be valued and conflicts should be avoided.
人皆たむろうあり、また悟れるもの少なし。ここをもってあるいは訓布に従わず、また倫理にたがおう。
People gather and create a party, but few are truly enlightened. Therefore, some disobey their lords and fathers and create conflict with their neighbors.
しかれども、神和らぎ、舌結びて、ことをあげつらうに、叶うときは、自利おのずからに通ずる。何事かなさざらんや。
But when the high and the low kept peace and harmony, and affairs were discussed, the principal truth would open by itself. Then we will be able to accomplish any matters.
二に曰く、厚く参謀を敬え。参謀とは仏法そうなり。
Sincerely revering the three treasures. The three treasures are the Buddha as teacher, the Dharma as true principle, and Sangha as practitioners.
すなわち師匠の周期、万国の修国なり。いずれの世、いずれの人か、この法を尊ばざらんや。
They are the final refuge of the four generated beings and are the supreme objects of faith in all countries. What man in what age can fail to reverence this law?
人甚だ悪しき者少なし。よく教うれば従う。それ参謀に着せざれば、何をもってか曲がれるを直くせん。
Few men are utterly bad. If they may be taught well, then they will follow it. But if they do not take refuge in the three treasures, how shall their crookedness be made straight?
Now we'd like to offer poetry by Master Shinran about the Prince Shotoku. 和国の教主聖徳を
Prince Shotoku was the master of the teaching in Japan.
古代音読者しがたし
Our immense debt of gratitude can hardly be repaid.
一心に奇妙し立て祭り
Take refuge in him single-heartedly.
お三二ならしめよ
And never tire of reverently praising him.
くぜ観音大菩薩
Great Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara, the world savior.
小 足をと次元して
appeared as Prince Shotoku.
たたのごとく捨てずして
is like a father never leaving us.
天のごとくに添いたも
And like a mother always watching over us.
Now, 題目 and 念仏 together.願わくはこの功徳をもって平等に一切に施し、同じく菩提心を起こして安楽国に往生せん。南無帰依仏、南無帰依法、南無帰依僧。
May all living beings be free from worry, fear, doubt, or frustration. May all living beings be free.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we will have a discussion now.
Yes.
We're going to have a talk on the Prince Shotoku. So, okay, do you want to start first?
Yes, I'll be glad to start first with a few words. I think that Prince Shotoku, as shown by his articles of his Constitution, shows a great understanding of the what I call the elements of engaged Buddhism. First, he starts off with the idea of wa, harmony, right? And he says that this should be valued and conflicts should be avoided. He starts off with this very general principle, and that people gather together to create groups in harmony, and that, you know, sometimes there are conflicts because people are not agreeing or paying attention with their neighbors or their lords or their parents, you know. But when people are in harmony with one another, then peace in the affairs can occur. I think what's really amazing is that he takes this general idea of wa and cements it in the idea of Buddhism with the three treasures in Article 2. So you have harmony first at the top. Then you have number 2, the three treasures of Buddhism, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And he says, if you have this great harmony inside, understanding the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and the practitioners in that case, and that if people take refuge in these three and understand that these are the true objects of faith and worship, that harmony will reign in a country, and that people may appear to be bad, but if they get a chance to partake in the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, they can be transformed. And the crookedness, as he says, can be made straight. So I really think he has a lot to say about our current situation today. That's my beginning.
Oh, okay.
Don't know if there's a lot there.
Okay, then let me let me follow you then the parts of the chapter 1, because I think it's, as you mentioned, that peace is the most value. The first part is probably very important, and our world too. We need to really think of the peace first, and then how can we bring all our things? Then then the second part, of course, is for me it's a non-violence, which is the conflicts should be avoided, meaning like, so that we have a lot of violence. The way sometimes when you create a peace, we try to create the peace with the fear or the weapons and all those things. So we have more strong weapons, you should follow us, something like that. But then this part of the Prince Shotoku is not saying that, carry the weapons more, or rather, this is a conflict should be avoided. But then the words, in Japanese word, the conflicts part is actually the words sakarau. So which is actually one side is a character of mind, the heart. And then the other of the character of the other side of the words is a character of axe, like the weapons, is that the axe, right? Yeah. So which means you have a mind with an axe means you have a kind of a mind of enemies, or my enemy. So just carry the weapons. But then so what he's saying is drop that weapons. So sakarau koto naki means not having, acts in the mind. So which means, you just drop the weapons. That's actually one of the part of the Buddhist teachings. Always not the hurting others, harming others, or ahimsa, the mind of ahimsa, or non-violence, or non-hurting, so that's actually the very second part. So actually the peace and non-violence. So which means, so here we're talking about peace through non-violence, which is, we've been talking many parts like a UN and all those interfaith gatherings. And, even like I always do the Hiroshima Nagasaki Memorial in August, but it's always the way of non-violent way of movement is a very, very important one. Like Martin Luther King's here, and also Gandhi in India, as well as the Ashoka, king in India. So they started the nonviolent way of creating peace. And so this is actually identical of that particular, way bringing a peace, not, bringing more weapons or more better nuclear weapons, so forth, and like an arm race. But then the actually safest probably is, just get rid of the weapons, and then we just, so which means we don't have an enemy, so call it, but we wanted to call them as a friend to be if you don't like them or something. So we will be able to think they are also same human beings. Because one thing I wanted to share with you is also the parts of the chapter 10, article 10, which is actually very interesting in one way, because article 10 is talking about we are all, what do you call it, ordinary beings. Let me read this anyway. So, which is a part that we didn't read at the ceremonial parts of it. But here it says, let us cease from the wrath and refrain from angry looks. Nor let us be resentful when others differ from us. For all men, or all people, I guess, have hearts, and each heart has its own meanings. Their right is our wrong, and our right is their wrong. So we are not unquestionably sages, nor are they unquestionably fools. Both of us are simply ordinary men, ordinary people. How can anyone lay down a rule by which to distinguish rights from wrongs? For we are all one with another, wise and foolish, like a ring which has no end. Therefore, continue like this. But then you get the points that, we're not necessarily all sages always, but also not fools either. So we have all kind of things, Sometimes I could be very wise, I could be very foolish. You could be very wise, you could be very foolish too, So we all have sometimes, attached to the things that we want, but yet we we all have those things. So that's why we're ordinary people. Therefore, we can listen to others, right? I mean, we are perfect. I don't have to listen to anybody else, right? So here, the important part is that ordinary people. Yeah, we are ordinary. That's why we make mistakes. But sometimes we do very nice things too, So that's why we listen to each other and find a way to create the peaceful world. So instead of, oh, they are enemy, they don't understand what you're doing, but rather we just try to approach together. And I think that's the very important aspects of recognized ordinary beings. So therefore, there's a dialogue was emphasized many parts of the 17th chapter. This 17 articles Constitution. So that's my taking, and I believe this itself is a lot of important aspects covered. I mean, this was 1400 years ago, as I said, but then it's already have something that we can follow, and then probably something is very universal principle laid down. So I thought that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring this program here, or session here, to really think of this kind of contribution that Prince Shotoku did for even our society. And then the Heiwa Foundation itself is actually, I created Heiwa Peace and Reconciliation Foundation of New York, but that's really based upon the Prince Shotoku's, the way of bringing peace to the world.
I think that a couple of things you brought out very importantly. I don't know how much time we have in this segment. I don't know.
Sure, but we'll see. So do you have some questions? Or
yeah, I have some questions. A couple of things. I think when listening to you, what you said there at the beginning, I thought when I was listening to you, it's interesting that Prince Shotoku started off with peace, almost as or harmony, as the very first thing that he wanted a society to have. And so listening to you as you were talking about having a mind that people can say things or do things that cause harm, like with an axe, with violence. When you were founding the Heiwa Peace and Reconciliation Foundation, was this idea also in your mind to create something from peace from every step? It seems like Prince Shotoku understood that we have to begin with the end in mind, that peace if we want to have peace, which is the most valuable thing, we have to start off with peace.
Remember the Heiwa, Japanese word, that means peace. So it's actually the title itself is a peace, Heiwa is a Hei means actually equal, equally treat all the lives, basically. And then so which means equally respected, equally valued, So once you realize the value of the life, then you can start create the peace, and you can trust the other peoples, and you can, share all different things. So that's the first word, Hei. Wa means that actually translated as a peace, which is kind of one side is a mouth, and then the other side is nurturing, growing vegetation. And then it's like a rice vegetation, rice bringing up, and then the head is coming down. So and then you have a dialogue, nice dialogue, then you can nurture yourself. So the mouth is, very important. So that's why instead of, weapon to carry, you just have even mouth, which carry the, dialogue. And so we can talk and we can understand each other. So that's part. Sorry about long comments.
No. This is good. I think one of the things that we had talked about beforehand, what do you think the difference is between what you're advocating, Heiwa, equality through harmony in that sense, right? And the idea in the West, where we talk about harmony is the key thing that we're talking about here. And we see that being Prince Shotoku's articles. But what about the idea of justice? In the West, there's an idea of justice. If it doesn't matter if you have harmony, if there's injustice in the world, how do you answer those people that say, oh, Prince Shotoku is missing the boat on the key area of justice?
Oh, I thought you were going to answer that question.
I can answer that too, but I wanted to hear from you. I can answer.
I think, no, that's good. But I think I wanted to hear you how
okay.
That particular question. Sorry to bring you back.
No, that's okay. I think that inside of harmony is justice. I think one of the key components of Buddhism, and what you see in this articles of the Constitution that Shotoku put up, is the idea that we are all interrelated beings, as you were saying, Venerable Nakagaki. You know, in Article 10, he says, Article 10, he basically says, we're not all, saints, but sometimes we can be foolish, right? And it's a cycle, right? Sometimes we're foolish, sometimes we're wise, which reminds me of Tendai's idea and the mutual possession of the 10 worlds, that at any given time, given the factors in the world, that can come out of us. And so therefore, ideas of justice tend to mean they're right, or I'm right, and they're wrong, or they're wrong, and I'm right. And part of the idea of justice in the Western concept, which leads to conflict, is that we must punish those who are unjust. We must censure them. We must, in some cases, destroy or even kill them. So that's a fundamentally different way of looking at other people who may disagree with us, who we have conflicts with, because conflicts, I have conflicts with myself, right? So, but if you feel, and that happens, if we feel that we're so wicked that we then might harm ourselves, take our own life, we feel we're unjust, so we take and harm ourselves. If we're willing to harm ourselves, then we're willing to harm others. So I think that it's very important what you are doing with the Heiwa Peace and Reconciliation Foundation, and what Prince Shotoku was saying to everyone at the very beginning, to see yourself in the other's eyes. And by that way, the issue isn't so much wrong or right, but how can we be compassionate as we go forward? I think that's what I say.
And then also understanding, I would say, the other side or my side, understanding is a very, very important, mutual understanding, mutual respect. That's very important aspects of it. And also, come to think of the, justice itself probably is not really for the part of the thinking of the Buddhist way of thinking, actually. It's more like, as you mentioned, harmony and so respecting, so that the, not pushing one view to the others. And then especially like Buddhist, that wisdom is called non-dualistic wisdom, right? So it's like the dualistic normally means good and bad, or, likes and dislikes. So everything is like that, things then that you take one side and you deny the others. So then we become a conflict. In a way, the justice is a cause of conflict or source of conflict, I would say. Because, but sometimes those justice may be, not like absolute justice, but rather people think, this is a just thing. But yet that people itself is not perfect. From the Buddhist side of it. And then we do have a greed, anger, all those mind that we have. Sometimes, you're always sharp. It's not necessary. Sometimes you can't sleep well, then your thoughts and everything is bad. And then you have some problem in the families and stuff like that. It's very difficult to do always the right judgment. And then sometimes it become more personalized things for the, then that becomes sort of leading to the really not the very good true understanding of what's going on. So it's always bias with the colors of the so-called justice, but yet most of the time justice is actually for you. Normally you're the one who is a just side, right? We tend to be, when we say justice, who is a just? They? No, of course, us. So it's like it's something is missing there, and then why don't they think they're the just one and you're the wrong one? So sometimes it's like that too, right? The use the nuclear weapons is a good one, or is that the bad one? From the winning point, it is a good one, maybe to win. Also, that was a just done. Well, maybe not. So because of that, many of the people are killed and so forth. So what happened to their life? Are they the same human beings, or are they like animals or something like that? So that, it's like how you treat others, and so-called just could be really, dangerous. Anti-Semitism, or anti-something is also coming out of a lot of time just idea. Or I'm the just, I know what's good. Everybody has to follow this God. People who follow other God, they shouldn't, or they don't know the truth. So they have to, be a just one. And so it's like those things are happening many times. So it's a kind of same idea of division or double the one side, and the one side support, then you have to deny the other side. So you can't have a together always. But then the part of the Buddhism or this wisdom itself is bring both together. Then they realize also they're not necessarily know everything, but that's the human beings. We don't know everything at the same time, but then so the chapter 10, that's why it become very important. And then so ordinariness is a very good, in a way. It doesn't have to be a Superman or, Superwoman or something like that. But yeah, and then the other thing is sometimes this one, actually I didn't read entire parts of it, but then actually the other part, the last parts of the chapter 10 actually said, let us, on contrary, dread our own faults, and thought we alone may be in a right. Let us follow the multitude and act like them. Sometimes, So it's actually sometimes we think, oh, I got everything, or they don't understand, but yet they have something they're unjust there, but they think so. That's why. Instead of get angry because of that, they're different from me, rather than okay, maybe this time, maybe let's open up our eyes or ears to listen to them, and then maybe have a little more conversation with it. So it's pretty interesting from that sense,
Yes.
thoughtful.
Yes, very powerful what you just said.
Yeah.
Very powerful. I think also what you're saying is one of the things, I'm a Risha Kosakai member, and Article 9 is actually, which we didn't discuss, it says their good faith is the foundation of right before Article 10. And what I think Prince Shotoku is saying, when you read those two things, Article 10 and Article 9 in harmony together, that we're not going to be perfect, that we're going to make mistakes, that we're not going to be right. As you were saying, we can't see everything. And if you have good faith, though, if you're acting out of the recognition of the dignity and reverence of other people who you meet in every encounter, then if they are having good faith towards you and you have good faith towards them and you revere them and they're revering you, then everything will be okay. If not, as he says in the end of Article 9, everything will end in failure. So it's the idea, what you're saying is very, very powerful, because Prince Shotoku's constitutional articles laid the groundwork for treating women better, for treating everyone in the society better. So a lot of times in the world today, we have a revolution of the ideation of self, people, trying to self-identification, self-growth. But what he does here is give us balance. You can have growth, but you must have responsibility, right? There's a role for everyone to play. That's what I think is very powerful also in this Constitution.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, even the chapter 1 part of chapter 1 things also too, that's that. But the thing is, when we get together, work together, we can accomplish anything we like, right? I mean, that's actually a very strong statement too. Once you can work together, meaning like listen to each other, because we do have a lot of experience and each one has a different, the wisdom they can bring it to the table. So, if you're thinking just by yourself, I think I know everything but then that's only the world that you're living. But all different people live their world. And so if they bring it to the table and then they discuss what could be the best way among us, then, we can have a better solution, sometimes. So many times probably. So that's another, interesting part of this constitution of Prince 17th chapter of Constitution, because the part that you read the first chapter, right? Very end, it says then we will be able to accomplish any matters. So which means after you discuss, that this one here, the words discuss, right? That any pairs were discussed, and then principle true would open up by itself, then we can accomplish anything that we like. That's a great idea. That's trusting to the humanity, right? It's not just doubting, they don't know, they don't change anything, but yet this part is really, bringing the discussion and seriously talk. And then then we can do really can do great things among the human beings. So there's a possibility creating a problem by idea of selfish view and so forth. But at the same time, if you realize those things and stop being selfish and start working together, then we can change a lot of ways. So
yes, very powerful.
Yeah,
things that you're saying here are wonderful.
Uh-huh.
Only thing that I see also in the one that you read in chapter 10, it said, though we alone may be in the right, let us follow the multitude and act like them. And some people might read those things and not understand the deep significance of what he's saying. He's not saying that you should go along with people to do wrong or things of that way. He's saying that, I always take it in Buddhism, there's a concept called half a step. I would say from Wano. He said sometimes, that's taken from Puruna, you don't go so far ahead of the other people that you leave them behind, but you take half a step so that you can influence them because you're connected to them, that you're not separate from them, and you help their life going forward. And so he's saying, don't be compassionate. Be compassionate first. Don't worry about being right. I'm right. But you're not compassionate, and they have the mind that you said before, acting like a hammer or a sledgehammer, harming others with your idea of your rightness. So I'm listening to you and gaining good insight.
In Japan, many part of the Buddhist tradition, he's as I said, the father figure of the Japanese Buddhism. So which means all of the school of Buddhism in Japan respect Prince Shotoku basically. And so he, in a way, all the Japanese Buddhism is actually characterized like Shotoku as a hero, really, of Japanese way. And so Mahayana Buddhism, or he was never be an ordained one, right? But then he has all the knowledge of Buddhism, or a lot of deep knowledge at least. And then at the same time, so it's like Vimalakirti, that's a Vimalakirti Sutra he talks about.
Yes.
Right, and then also he actually lectured Shomangyo, which is Srimara Sutra. And, the main character is a female person who attained the Buddhahood, and she teaches to the monks, on behalf of the Buddha. And then the third one, of course, your school of Buddhism, Lotus Sutra. So the Prince Shotoku also lectured the Lotus Sutras, which is more towards the Buddhist, the monks, monks and nuns too. So in a way, it's very interesting to have kind of a way that he created Japanese itself. And then also, one thing I shouldn't forget is that he started to have a trade between Japan and then China. So it's then he sent to the at that time a zoo, I guess, Zhou period. Anyway, so he sent to the like scholars and people to China, and they have a lot of exchange too. When the Japan was made, Empress, Suiko Empress, the female, and then also the person like him, man, together working, create the country for peace.
Sometimes we think that our influence is going to be small, but if we're connected to the harmony of the environment and the universe, then maybe in a small, tiny way, we can have an impact like Prince Shotoku. Many years later, after he has transitioned from human form, his impact is still with us today. And in the fact that we're having this dialogue means that he's impacting people he never saw or never physically met, but we're meeting him. So it's really quite exciting.